right, well, now that 6:30 has arrived, we'll officially call the meeting to order. Has the meeting been properly posted and the roll been taken?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Item number 2 is pledge of allegiance, and then we'll have a prayer by the schools. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you this evening for allowing us to come together in this chamber. And we ask you that you guide us and give us wisdom so that we may do the right decisions for the citizens of this city. And everything that we do in your Holy Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Item number 3, our approval of the minutes. 3.1 are minutes of the December 20th, 2022 meeting. There's no additions or corrections. I go ahead and entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item number 4 are communications. I don't believe we have any communications at this time. We'll move on to item number 5 then, which are public comments. Citizens may address the chair at this point of the meeting. And all I would ask is that we reference things that are on this evening's agenda for no more than 3 minutes. Any public comments at this time? Seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to item number 6, which are reports of committees, boards, commissions, and the Delavan Darien School District. Item 6.1 is the Finance Committee and the financial report. Alderwoman Deschner-Brandt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Finance Committee met on January 10th at 5 o'clock. Our next meeting will be on February 14th at 5. There are a number of items on tonight's agenda. The minutes of the meeting are on file with City Clerk for public inspection, and at this time I would make a motion to approve the financial report.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 6.2 is General Operations Committee. Alderman Wilson.
Thank you, Mayor. General Operations met on January 4th. The Assistant Police Chief Bilski covered the police activity report. The Building and Zoning Administrator Welch updated us on projects throughout the city, including 5 new homes in December. And Administrator Wilson report informed us of another EMS meeting which happened today, and he attended. The rest of the business will be sent to the Common Council. Will come up later tonight. The next meeting is February 7th, 2023.
Thank you, Alderman Wilson. Item 6.3 is the Planning Commission. Alderman Beasley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Planning Commission met on January 4th. There's a number of items on the agenda to be reviewed tonight. And as always, the minutes are on the city's webpage for public inspection if anybody is interested. The next meeting will be Monday, February 6th at 5 p.m.
Thank you, Alderman Beasley. Item 6.4 is Public Works. Alderwoman Deschner-Brandt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Public Works has not met since our last council meeting. Our next meeting will be January 24th at 5:30.
Thank you, Alderwoman Deschner-Brandt. Item 6.5 is the Town of Delavan Lake Committee. Alderman Beasley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Town of Delavan Committee did not meet. It was canceled. I'm not sure exactly why, but an email did get sent out that it wasn't.
Thank you, Alderman Beasley. Item 6.6 is the Library Board of Trustees. Alderwoman Deschner-Brandt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Library Board of Trustees has not met since our last council meeting. Our next meeting is this Thursday at 5:30.
Thank you, Alderwoman Deschner-Brandt. Item 6.7 is Parks and Recreation Commission. Alderman Purcell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We did not meet last month because of Christmas, but our next meeting is going to be the 23rd of this month in January, and we do have a hopefully lockdown on the dog park. That will be the 27th, be the voting. There's 3 different parks that's gonna happen. And it's Lauterbach Park, Lower Springs, and Loudon Park. Out of all 3, one's gonna be voted on, and that will be the dog park. And then we'll figure out what the fencing is gonna be, and we'll go from there. That's right on that one.
Thank you, Alderman Purcell. Item 6.8 is Communications Commission. Alderman Solis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have not met since our last council meeting. The next meeting date is just yet to be determined.
All right, thank you, Alderman Solis. Item 6.9 is the Delavan Downtown Project Management Team. Alderwoman Dasher Brand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have also not met since the last council meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for January 24th at 7 o'clock.
Great, thank you, Alderwoman Dasher Brand. Item 6.10 is the Delbrook Golf Commission. Alderman Purcell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have not met because of Christmas. But our next meeting is gonna be February 16th at 5 o'clock.
Thank you, Alderman Purcell. Item 6.11, Tourism Commission. Alderman Solis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We met Monday, January 9th. Couple of things happened. We appointed Dave Secures to represent the commission and the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. So he'll be there representing the Tourism Commission. Also, the banners did go up downtown. If you're on the poles, if you drive by, there's a couple banners the banners are up, so it's nice to see that up. And then another quick thing that I wanted to mention was on December 22nd last year, I got the opportunity to go on television to Telemundo in Milwaukee and kind of speak up on the events that are going on here in the Walworth County, the winter events. And while I was there, took advantage of the platform and said, come visit Delavan. We have cool shops downtown and had that opportunity. That was pretty neat. So that's my report. Our next meeting, Mr. Mayor, is gonna be February 13 at 5 p.m.
All right, thank you, Alderman Solis. Item 6.12 is the Delavan Darien School District update. Dr. Sorman.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for letting me share some things from the school district every month. So I gave you a handout this morning. This evening. This was presented to the school board just to kind of be informational. A lot of people don't necessarily understand where we receive our federal and or state funding. And so I think that it was informative for me to share this with you this evening. So going across on your paper there, the first one is the ARPA 1 and 2 grants. These are federal. You'll have to get your cheaters out if you need to with your eyes or put it up close. But these are funded through the American Rescue Plan or Act, and they are good funds, or they are funds that need to be used by 2020, the end of this school year. We currently are using those 61,000 and some change to support our 2 learning labs, which is an after-school program to support our students both at the middle school and at the high school. In addition to that, we purchased some miscellaneous items for the Comet Closet, which is a closet that supports students that come from poverty and need clothing or hygiene items and things like that. And along with gas cards for our homeless families. Moving again to the right then is the school-based mental health professionals grant. This is a competitive grant that we wrote. This is our 2nd year of it out of 5. This year we received $33,000 and $494. Last year we received $25,000 and some change. This is specifically written for the district to retain and help our pupil services staff. Our pupil services staff give so much of themselves based on the amount of mental health in our community and across the nation, that this is to help support them and their learning as they give back to our students and staff. Like I said, this is a 5-year grant. There were only 7 other districts in the state of Wisconsin that received this based on our performance, or our students and our performance of retaining staff. It has been a challenge here in Walworth County to retain pupil services staff. Going on to the nurses grant, this is one that we received in October, specially gifted to all states across the state of or all districts across the state of Wisconsin. And this again is for the retention of nurses and health aides. It was proportionally given based on the amount of head count or your student population. So we received a little over $18,000 for that. It must be spent in this year alone, so you have to spend it by the end of this year, and they have specific things on all of these grants on how you use them. So specifically, we used it for retention bonuses for our health aides, our nurse, and sending our nurse over to a national conference, again, to support her and her learning. But also then to help reimburse for June's summer school, so it's actually saving the district some funding on that. The next one is called the Letters Grant. This is specifically, the state of Wisconsin just passed an act recently, Act 57, that's all about the science of reading. And they are trying to have districts support the pre-K to second grade staff or teachers to understand more about that early literacy and how that all works with phonemic awareness and the science of reading. So that is a small amount of $4,000 that must be spent by the end of next year. The next two are a little bit larger amounts. ESSER 2 grant was again part of the federal funding. That grant was proportionally spent or sent out to districts across the state based on needs, based on partially poverty, based on student count. We received a little over $1 million on this, and we used this to offset our payroll for this year so we could purchase some one-time costs. So some things that we'll be doing with that, like we are putting in new playground furniture at Turtle Creek because it's 30-some years old, it's starting to crack. So we're putting our staff on it for this year so we can purchase one-time costs for the district. So we're not having to hire staff and then have to lay them off in a year. So it's just about fiscally being responsible. The next one is ESSER 3. We received a little over $3 million on this grant, and this has to be spent by September of 2024. And this money is going to be mainly used to put in HVAC to Darien Elementary. McKinstry, we've worked with them for our air quality and energy efficiency. That cost is a little over $2 million, and we'll use the rest to fund our staff and allow for additional one-time costs or projects in the district. So again, this is where we talk about the fiscal cliff for education, and I'm sure you've heard that. The feds have been pumping in so much money, but the state has not been giving us any resources for the last few years, which I believe I've talked about prior. So all this money is coming into school districts, but they're having to figure out, well, unless I'm hiring staff and then laying them off in the future, it's not good, healthy culture building climate for schools to do that. So we're figuring out other ways to accomplish things that are going to be proved to be better for our students and staff, but yet be still fiscally responsible for the community. The last two are more grants that we receive annually. So the second to last one is the IDEA. So this is flow through in preschool. We get approximately $400,000 to $500,000 for flow through and about $9,000 for preschool. These both are generated for, the feds give these to districts for special ed funding. So preschool is for that birth to 3 or 4-year-old early childhood programs. This is only 30% funded, and I've talked a little bit about this in front of, I believe, the council before, but the state is looking at trying to put a little bit more funding into this IDEA grant because of the fact that they know special ed costs are so high, but yet they only fund about 30% of the cost of it, okay? And the last one is our title funds, Title 1, 2, 3, and 4. Basically, Title I is used to help literacy and math, and so that is covering about 30% of our reading specialists or math specialists, and the district receives about $375,000, but that has been decreasing since I've been here. So in the last 6 years, 6 years ago, we received $598,000. 6 years later, we're down to $375,000. So and that fluctuates from year to year based on how much they have at the Fed level to give to the states, then the states give it out to districts. The next one is for Title II. It's dealing with professional development for teachers. We put on, so we don't have to worry about constantly doing a revision to the grant. We basically cover 60% of one instructional coach for the teachers. Title III is dealing with the dual language or English second language learners for our district. We get approximately $45,000 for that, and it covers about 50% of our dual language coordinator and or instructional coach there, and she has both of those roles. And then the Title IV is providing well-rounded and environment and healthy school environment for students. And we get approximately $25,000 for that one. And that covers anything from music equipment. So when they're performing tonight, we've purchased violins and cellos and band instruments to PE equipment, things like that. So we usually kind of disperse a little bit to get that well-rounded along with safe and healthy schools. And so some goes to the nurse or counseling department as well. Any questions? I know I rattled a lot quickly here for you, but I wanted to give you a once over on some of our federal and state funding and how that works for schools. Yes.
Well, I don't have any particular questions about this. I'm very happy with the grant layouts and how proactive that the school district is doing in terms of seeking out grants and putting them to use. From what you're describing, everything sounds top notch and perfect, right in line with where it should be. I do have a different question that I was asked to bring up. We just had a holiday celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And the question is, why is it that Delavan School District does not have off on that day?
It's a great question. I've had a staff member ask me the same thing. So for me, when I work with the board and or the directors about laying out our calendar, I always try to look at what is best for kids. Other school districts in our area, one just to the north of us on Highway 43, has trimesters versus semesters. We're on a semester schedule at our high school, and exams are just happening right now. So it behooves our students to be in school on the Monday before exams. That's one. So when you think about that piece, but then you also have to look at it to say, if that would be a day that I would give off, then I would be extending the calendar day into June. And as it is, the staff voted, they had a couple options to choose from. And they actually chose the one that had an extra day at spring break for next year and things like that. And they went to go all the way to the Friday of June 10th, 9th for next year, for example. So traditionally we end school on a Friday. So if we were to take one more day off in January, it would mean that we would have to continue in the third week, second to third week of school in June and end on a Monday. It's all about minutes of instruction. So that's part of it. The third piece for me as the director of instruction is really thinking about what is the best time for the staff to get the learning that they need, along with when is our student performance data coming in so they can have the time to evaluate it. So for instance, our benchmark assessments that we use in NWEA MAP, they have restrictions, so you must give that test. The first benchmark starts at the third week of school. The second benchmark starts at the 20th week of school. The 20th week of school falls this week and into next week, but it takes approximately 3 weeks to give that assessment. So the February in-service here, February 10th, is a great day for staff to really dig into that data to know whether or not what they've been providing for instruction and their techniques that they've been using allows for them to understand what do I need to do differently. And so that's a deeper conversation on that day. And so again, I have to be very mindful about what do we need for our staff to move our student performance data. And so while I would love to do that and honor that very important individual in our history, I also look at it to say it's not a state holiday, quote unquote, for us to have off as a requirement. And I have to measure really what is our need for our population that we serve.
Isn't it a federal holiday?
It might be, but it's not required of state schools to give it off. Okay, long story short, I mean, I've heard it. I know some people really would love to have that day off, but I also have to look at it to say, there's only so many days in the calendar to get instruction in. And I have to do what's right for our staff to really move our student achievement data. Any other questions?
I actually think the benefit of being in school that day is that a lot of us cover material on Martin Luther King and who he was and what he did, where it's not just a day to go to Culver's and maybe, you know, it's kind of nice.
We
that
celebrate
can,
together.
yeah, address it and have a teachable moment.
Thank you for sharing that. That's good as a teacher. I was looking at it through my lens as an administrator as to the why the calendar is set up the way it is.
Conversation is the important part. This is all very helpful. Thank you.
Any other questions for me for the evening?
Yeah, you mentioned, that the state has been having trouble getting money to the district, and I imagine that's throughout the whole state. Or is it specific to our area?
No, it is throughout the whole state. So for the last 5 years, there's been literally no aid to the two school districts. For the most part, they have not added any additional funds into the revenue cap.
Yeah.
And so that basically freezes school districts at their amount. So the only way they earn additional money is by having additional students sit in the classroom. So our school district is a little over $10,000 per student that we earn. I think it's like $10,056 to be precise. And so the minimum requirement in the state is 10,000, so we're just a little above that amount. And other school districts back prior to Act 10, so back in the early 2000s, they were taxing their citizens more. So basically education is, depends on your district. It's either locally funded or locally and state funded, depends on your tax allocation in your community. So like Williams Bay is mainly a 90% tax on the local and only 10% from the state because they are so property rich, right? Where we are approximately 50-50 as a school district. And so what that means is that we still, no matter what, our tax, we don't get more revenue in because the way we set up our taxes here in this community years back was that we wanted to keep our property taxes as low as possible. So what happened was, and the state did this on purpose years ago, they said, well, you can't lower your local property tax and expect the state to pay more if that's where you're supposed to be. So they tried to say, if you reduce your local, then we're gonna reduce the state, okay? And so what happened there is that this district chose to reduce the local tax burden. Makes sense, because we all don't like to pay taxes, right? But then that also reduced the state funding. So we kept a low revenue limit, meaning how much we got per pupil down. What happens then is that when they set that ceiling and everyone froze then, and then they had to say how we're gonna give increments, and every time they gave an increment, when they give an increment, 50% of it goes, half of it goes to the state, and half of it comes from the local. The problem is our district has set it for a low amount years ago, and so we're kind of stuck there. And so there is a campaign that is going on for the low revenue districts like ourselves across the state that I recently signed on behalf of the district to say, it's not fair the way the formula works for districts like ourselves versus other districts that at the time, they were causing their local to pay more in taxes. And so I'm trying to point that out again to the legislators, had them in recently to just talk again, form that relationship with
That was
everyone.
gonna be my next question, was the last time we talked to them, and
Mhm.
I'd like to see them more here, really advocating for our district. I mean,
Mhm.
if we've been having this for 5 years, and, what is he doing, you know? I mean, we need the money here.
Mhm.
And if they can get out there, get the word out there, I mean, right now, budget talks are being held throughout the state for the state money, and this is where our area should be speaking up and saying, hey, bring the dollars to Delavan.
Yeah, so I recently had Steve Nass or Senator Nass and Representative Shutt in, who's new to the. Yep. And so they both came and did a tour. We walked and talked. I've been in contact more with Shutt since then and Steve Nass. And so I think the goal is to write them a letter here. I've been told from my organization, Wisconsin Association for School District Administrators, to hold until the governor got his budget across to them. And from there, once we kind of define what that looks like, for then we start writing our letters into the legislators. So that's on my to-do list, but I don't want to trump the governor in what he's already asking.
Well, add us to the letter, we'll sign it.
Perfect. I'll get as many people in our community to sign as I can. It's really important that we think
get those
about where
dollars
we're going.
And the city needs it, and that's kind of where I'm going with all that.
I don't know if you recently saw, and I'm sorry to take more time here, I promise this will be my last comment. 2 of our surrounding communities, Burlington in April has an $8 million operational referendum, 8 million. Elkhorn is at $5 to $6 million for April for their operational. You know, so it's not, when you look at our 3.8 that we looked at for our community to say, this is what we need, this is what others in our communities surrounding us are asking for operational. And so it's a real big struggle that we need people to know and hear. So thank you for your time today.
Thank you. Item number 7 are issues that came before the planning commission. Item 7.1 is consider a conditional use request for the property at 725 East Wisconsin Street, tax parcel XP 190A to allow for a group development, land use, and a major indoor commercial entertainment land use. Applicant Leila Basili.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposed resolution, including the conditional use findings listed in the report and the conditional use request for major indoor commercial entertainment located at 725 East Wisconsin Street in the Business Central Zoning District, subject to finding the conditions of approval as listed in the report.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 7.2 is consider a conditional use request for the property at 311 through 315 Turtle Creek Drive, tax parcel XA 1404-2 to allow for a group development land use in a community living arrangement, 16+ residents, land use applicant Lake Delavan Center Incorporated.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the proposed resolution, including a conditional use permit listed in the report and a limited conditional use permit for group development and community living arrangements, 16 residents, land use on the property at 311 to 315 Turtle Creek Drive, located in the institutional residential IR zoning district, to the applicant Lake Delavan Center Incorporated, subject to the conditions as listed in the report.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second, any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. Item 7.3 is consider officially vacating a 0.12 acre portion of the public right-of-way of Hobbs Drive to realignment of the right-of-way in 2005.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the vacating of 5,111 square foot portion of the public Hobbs Drive right-of-way as shown on CSM 3812.
There's a motion and a second, any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. Item number 8 are issues that came before the finance committee. 8.1 is consider the ambulance purchase proposals.
I would make a motion to approve the purchase of the remounted ambulance from Elite Ambulance in the amount of $191,720 and the additional purchase of a used ambulance from Everest Emergency Vehicles Incorporated in the amount of $40,000.
There's a motion.
Second.
And a second, any further discussion?
I would like to compliment Tom, that you put the proposal together, Tim. Yeah. Nicely done, and it gives us a lot of options, we can make intelligent decisions.
I wanted to make sure we were comparing apples to apples.
Mhm.
That's what the chief wanted, so I really followed his direction, but yeah, I wanted to make sure we explored all our options here because this is truly a life-saving decision tonight.
Okay.
And finance committee certainly concurred with that. And again, yeah, I appreciate the extra work to come up with a number of different proposals so the finance committee and the council could consider those. So there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, may we have a roll call?
Alderman Purcell,
Yes.
Alderwoman Deshner Brandt,
Yes.
Alderman Wilson,
Yes.
Alderman Beezer,
Yes.
Alderman Solis.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 8.2 is consider the purchase of one 2024 International dump truck with plow from Lakeside International at a cost of $242,316.
I would make a motion to approve the purchase of the 2024 International Dump Truck with plow from Lakeside International at a cost of $242,316 with acknowledgement of the surcharge memo from International.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah. How many bids did we get on that?
Nick, did you want to come up to the podium?
We received 3 bids for the truck, as spec'd out by staff.
Yeah. Where were they from?
One was from Mid-State International and the other one was, I don't have that in front of me.
Thompson Truck.
Yes, there you go.
Are these government bids or no?
So it would be municipal pricing, so each international dealership would give us or it would give us government pricing. Or
So all of them were municipal prices?
Correct.
On all 3 bids?
Correct.
And you picked who?
It would be Lakeside International.
Would that be, stainless steel?
Yes.
Did we, after we got that bid, did you go back and talk to the other 2 and see what they're gonna do about that, or no? Or you just?
We typically do not operate that way, so it's typically just a quoted price and that's as we receive it.
Okay, good. Thanks, Nick.
Any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, may we have a roll call?
Alderwoman Deshner Brandt,
Yes.
Alderman Wilson,
Yes.
Alderman Beezer,
Yes.
Alderman Solis,
Yes.
Alderman Purcell.
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 8.3 is consider cross-connection control inspection proposal for 2023-2024.
I make a motion to approve the 2023-2024 cross-connection contract from Clean Water Engineering LLC as quoted cost of $33,345.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, may we have a roll call?
Alderman Wilson,
Yes.
Alderman Beezer,
Yes.
Alderman Solis,
Yes.
Alderman Purcell,
Yes.
Alderwoman Deshner Brandt,
Yes.
Motion passes. Item 8.4 is consider banking services agreement extension with First National Bank and Trust Company.
I would make a motion to approve the banking services agreement extension with First National Bank and Trust Company from January 1st, 2023 through December 31st of 2025.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 8.5 are approval of the bills.
I make a motion to approve warrant 2022-12.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item number 9 are issues that came before the General Operations Committee. 9.1 is consider application for a Class B fermented malt beverage and Class C wine licenses for Jennifer L. Hellerson and DBA Lucky's Pizza at 1434 East Geneva Street.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to deny a Class B and Class C wine license application for Jennifer Halverson.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Where exactly is that?
We were Little Caesars once.
Yes. And that kind of slipped through the cracks at GOC, and I feel kind of responsible for that, but,
Yeah, none of this has ever been brought to us at all on this. This whole pizza,
it came today, but,
how many pizza places are we have in this town?
What's worse than that?
yes, there were some, legal issues going on, and we think it's best to back off on this one.
Yeah, but I mean, Where exactly is this at?
The old Little Caesars.
Next to the King Bowl?
Yeah.
They're putting a pizza place in there?
Not if we deny this.
We just denied it.
Well, not yet.
Well,
But that
we
was the
denied
motion.
the.
I mean, yeah, we got like 15 pizza places in this town. It's getting out of hand. Whatever.
So there was a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just a little bit of clarity, there's some issues regarding this, going back, which, we've discovered by a CCAP. There's some outstanding tax warrants, unpaid judgments, and this is not the appropriate type of business venture that we want to have in the city.
Good.
And I would add, did they come before GOC?
They did, and I was in the late, she wasn't present, so we couldn't ask her any questions, and we found this out after the fact.
Alright, there's a motion and a second. Any additional discussion?
No, thanks for clarifying, no.
I appreciate it.
I mean, yeah, you got all that information, I mean, I can't see how you can approve that.
Yeah, so everyone is clear on the motion?
Yeah, I am.
All those in favor of the motion to deny, signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 9.2 is consider resolution amending the fees for the real estate status reports.
I'll move to approve the proposed resolution amending the fees for real estate status reports to $75 with a fee of $150 for a rush report.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item number 10 is our other business items. 10.1 is considered the mayor's appointment of Dan Shop to the Development Review Committee to fill a vacant design professional position. I would entertain a motion.
So move.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 10.2 is select alternate date for the February common council meeting due to the spring primary election on February 21st. And we have a suggested date. That hopefully works for everyone. I would entertain,
Where's the suggested date, I'm sorry?
February 28th. at
28th,
6:30.
okay, there, it's on here, but not in the computer, got it.
Oh.
I'm looking at the computer.
It's on the computer, but.
I don't think we need to make it.
Yeah, that's just a consensus of everybody is okay with
Yeah. I'm fine with it.
it. Okay.
Seems open.
Alright. Then item 11 are public comments. Citizens may address the chair at this point of the meeting. Please limit your comments to once for a maximum of 2 minutes. Anyone wish to make public comments at this time? Seeing and hearing none. Item number 12 are suggested future agenda items. Any future suggested items at this time? If not, at this time, then certainly, as I always say, you're welcome to let me know, let our city clerk and city administrator know. I'm happy to put those items on the agenda. We'll move on to item number 13, which is recess to closed session. 13.1 is pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 19.85, parent 1, parent C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility regarding the city administrative performance evaluation. Is there a motion to go into closed session?
I'll make a motion, we move into closed session.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none, may we have a roll call?
Alderman Beezer.
Yes.
Alderman Solis.
Yes.
Alderman Purcell.
Yes.
Alderwoman Dashner Brand.
Yes.
Alderman Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes. I'll take a brief recess.
So March, just gonna have to be really quick on February 28th.